Theo, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I saw one of your LinkedIn posts and I just told myself that we have to talk. You seem like a very individualistic type of entrepreneur. It seems like you have your own thoughts, your own ideas about stuff. You're not afraid to kind of showcase them around, even if they're not as popular or maybe a bit controversial.
Hmm.
How did it all start? How did the whole journey start?
I have always kind of spoken my mind in that sense. I think I got it from my mother. I have a Sicilian mother who's who's never been afraid to speak her mind as well. Um, but I mean, I started, I guess you could trace that back publicly to when I started blogging around 2007. So I've been writing blogs and articles for about 20 years now. Christ. Um,
Wow.
yeah, that's quite scary.
You don't look that
Um,
old, man. You don't look that old.
I'm
Trust
going to
me.
take that as a compliment. Yeah, that's great. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the tact that I took with my writing was that I wanted to be very conversational. So I wanted to just speak to the user, to the reader, as if I was speaking in a pub or on the street or something, rather than make it formal and academic and really dry and boring. And the other thing I wanted to do was basically just speak my mind. And if I didn't agree with something, or if I wanted to present an opposing view or opinion, then I would do it because I think a lot of people, because they work for companies, they're very restrained or or constrained by PR and HR and everyone else that they can't say what they think. And so when I started writing, I used to get a lot of comments in the background from people saying, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I
Hmm.
can't say it out loud. Um, and then when LinkedIn started in the early 2000s, I was like one of the first 100,000 to join from the UK. And I've been on LinkedIn since it first launched, and adopted the same thing, which was, it's there to network, but it's also there not to be shy about what you want to say. And so I treated it almost like another blogging platform, which is,
Hmm.
I will just express opinions. And yeah, I mean, it's got me notoriety or infamy as well as being, publicly available and a high profile. So I've quite enjoyed it. I mean, I'm too old to care now. Whether it's cheeky or offensive or on the nose or a bit too, can't say that. I'm independent. I work for myself most of the time. I have been freelancing for a large number of years. And yeah, I mean, I get speaking gigs from it. People come up to me with small job offers and things like that. So it works.
When would you say was like this big jump in followers that you have on LinkedIn? Because now you have a close to 80,000, if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
and it's a very significant number. Like, was there like a specific period of time where there was like this big spike, or?
No, I mean, I've always been people always kind of sort of like try to connect and follow. I mean, I'm always bouncing off the limit for connections. I'm on 30,000. LinkedIn limits to 30,000, and I'm on there all the time. And I have to purge some people that I connected in the early days who no longer, talk or connect, to let other people sort of connect, so that I find interesting. Follower count, it's never been something that I've chased. I've just let it kind of grow organically. A lot of people are like very kind of obsessed with follower counts and numbers and things. And to be honest, you can take or leave it. You can listen to me. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to
Hmm.
follow me. If that's your choice, then that's great. I've never, it's not something that I've really cared about chasing. Because to me, it's just another vanity metric. It's great if you want to build a career as an influencer and say, yeah, I've got 200,000 people following me, and this is why you must hire me for your influencer campaign, etc. But again, it's like one of these things that if if you're paid by 10 people to say 10 different things, you don't really stand for any of them.
Hmm.
You have no principles or anything else like that. So I generally don't really look at the number side of things.
What's your main business outside of the speaking gigs?
So I do some consulting work in terms of uh, futurism, shall we say? Future. I do a bit of futurist work, so I get employed or contacted and contracted by companies to basically speak to their exec teams to say, what are the emerging trends? What should we be worried about? What should we be looking for opportunity wise and stuff like that. And then the other stuff I do is I think about what my next startup might be. So, I had a data analytics business in the video game industry that I launched, raised some money, we got acquired, and I've been thinking about what to do next since that. But that's yeah, those are the kind of sort of things I like to do in the
Hmm.
meantime. I don't have a bread and butter 9 to 5 kind of job.
Yeah, and you're already a successful founder in the sense that you've exited a company. Do you feel like do you feel like the playbook that you ran back then is something that you can duplicate, or do you have this notion that every company, every startup is a whole different journey, every idea, every product is completely different? Like, because I'm really interested in, like, you seem like a super intelligent individual, and I just wonder if, like, when you're thinking about your next thing, if you want to build the next thing, if you have this playbook already in your mind of how you're gonna run it. So not necessarily, obviously, if you knew what the idea was, you would already do that. But once you do have the idea, do you have like a framework and a playbook that you want to kind of that you're going to automate and run on that playbook? You know.
Um, for this particular one, and something that I'm starting off next, no. And the reason is because it's completely different industries.
Hmm.
I think if I was doing something as another software startup in data or AI or something like that, then you would very much have a template where it's like, I have a founding team. This is how we do the engineering part. You learn lessons about marketing and PR and how not to do it. You focus on other areas first. You make sure you pick the right people as well, which is obviously a critical point.
Hmm.
Um, and then you launch, and then you focus on growth and strategy to get to, ARR, MMR, all that kind of sort of thing. With the current startup, it's very different because it's in a completely different sector. It's not software related; it's more hardware. So that playbook,
Hmm.
aside from making sure that you have the right skill mix in your founding team and things like that, the rest of it kind of goes out the window in a
Hmm.
way because product and software is very different from product and hardware. The timelines are very different. The way you go to market is very different and stuff like that. So you can have a playbook up to a point if you have a repeatable business model and that's all you care about. You launch one small app, you sell it, you launch another small app, you sell it, and so on and so on and so on. Um, that stuff really doesn't interest me at all. I like to do completely mental things.
Love that. What was that like was that like the railroad thing you're working on? Well, what is that? I
Yeah.
saw it on the LinkedIn. I didn't quite understand, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not really railroads per se. I'm trying to get into the space infrastructure as a service.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an idea around space logistics. And I'm chatting with a couple of people as co-founders. I've been talking to various people in the industry itself, like working at NASA and the UK Space Agency and other things like that. So I'm floating this idea around. I'm having a conversation with a few VCs to see if we can get, some pre-seed cash to get it off the ground and start motoring. I think it has legs. Certainly, I think NASA itself and Space Force have um, interests in these areas because they have done concept work and research. Just nobody's really tackled it from a,
Mm,
let's go build it perspective. So I'm going to give it a
right.
shot.
Hmm. Interesting. Are you like a big Elon Musk fan?
I like SpaceX and I like Tesla and I like what he does. I don't necessarily like
The
everything that he
person?
does.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be able to separate people, the person or the personality from the company itself. Because I mean,
Hmm.
he's a great, at the beginning he was a great front man, and he certainly drives companies the right way in terms of, if you look at what space agencies have achieved versus what SpaceX has achieved, it's just incredible difference.
Mm,
Um, but you can't all put it on Elon Musk, because it's the people in the companies that are actually building these products. He can set the direction and he can say, I want it done this way because this is the best way to do it, or to iterate and launch. But it's the engineers and the project managers and the CEO of SpaceX is obviously taking that forward from him, and
mm,
achieved all these incredible results. And I think, yeah, I mean, I like his engineered brain, shall we say? Maybe
mhm.
not so much of the rest of his personality that goes with it.
Do you like, because like I look at your tattoos, which look I don't have I don't have any tattoos, but like I can admire from afar a well tattooed individual. And I just, it's, there's some entrepreneurs, and I didn't just mention the tattoos for nothing, so I'm getting to a point here. So like,
Right.
um some individuals, like some of entrepreneurs and like tech people, get inspired by like other tech people and entrepreneurs, and some of them get inspired from like other industries or individuals or whatever. Like, I feel more, in a sense, inspired and connected by artists or by
Mm.
athletes than I do with entrepreneurs. Maybe it was because I was trained as an athlete as a kid, maybe, I don't know, but just like I'm more creative in that way. Do you? And I looked at your tattoos, and like, you know, are you, do you also have something else outside of, this tech entrepreneurship game that kind of inspires you, that is outside of of this specific kind of um industry?
Yeah, I mean, I love playing video games. I mean, the tattoos are. I collect comic books as well. So
Hmm.
this sleeve is a DC Justice League sleeve, piece of art
Okay.
done by Alex Ross, who draws
Mm,
for DC, and this is a Skyrim sleeve. And then I have a full back tattoo of the xenomorph from Aliens.
mm,
So, I like the creative industries a lot. A lot of my friends are musicians and concept artists, for example. And I've dabbled in the movie industry by supporting some indie directors with as
mm,
an exec producer and helping them find funding. So I like to do different things, but I am inspired by the creative industries because, they are, well, they're creating art that everybody enjoys. The tech industry is something that creates for specific audiences and things like that. But the creative industry, you could find a piece of art that everybody relates to.
mm,
And I think that impact is incredible. So I am inspired by that. I don't read business books or
mm,
anything else like that. I read science fiction. I find inspiration from reading science fiction, especially the Golden Age, where there didn't seem to be a constraint on imagination,
mm,
and people didn't sort of go, "Oh well, physics says that you can't do that." That
mm,
kind of thing. It's just like, well, actually, no, the guy was writing high concept stuff, and he just wanted to tell a story based on what his imagination was dreaming up, rather than trying to ground it in physics and hard fact
mm.
and things. And I enjoy those kind of stories because it's more about human storytelling rather than the science itself. So I get inspiration from that as well.
You're a futurist in a sense, and AI seems to be like accelerating, like in like this space that we haven't seen before. Even like in our industry, which is like the PR marketing industry, like it's just crazy to think about how AI is already affecting the industry, and it's crazy to think like what AI will do to that industry, right? And I'm
Mm.
just wondering, like, in terms of like you studying and reading and like being, like, seeing what the emerging technologies are, like, how do you think AI is going to impact um the various industries? And do you think we're going to get to this ironic point in time where we're going to have AIs talking to AIs about AIs, and having us humans just like sitting in the background?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at the enterprise side of things, I mean, I think a lot of white collar work is going to be severely impacted. Um, Not from a, oh, it's going to completely eradicate my job. It
Mm-hmm.
will remove specific tasks within that job at the moment. Give it another 10 years, or within 10 years, that will change. That landscape will
Mm-hmm.
change. But for now, you can see the correlation between doing a specific small concentrated task myself or getting an AI to do a lot of that, and increasing, my productivity or giving me more free time as a result of it. Um, and once that starts to pick up pace, then you'll basically have, I think there's a common misconception, if we wind back slightly, that there's an AI and it's going to sit in your business or sit somewhere and it's going to do everything and you're just going to need one. Um, that's false. I think you will have multiple different types of AI that have been trained on specific business processes, on departments, etc., that will interact with each other, but are essentially subject matter or domain experts in their own rights. And the person or the human in the loop will be there to actually, babysit in a sense. They'll still need to check for, wrong answers, any bias, recommendations, or decision making, etc. You can't automate people completely out the picture,
Mm-hmm.
and you will always have someone who is more experienced who has that gut instinct that something is
Mm-hmm.
right or something is wrong. Doesn't matter what the data says. You can still make a decision that goes the other way because that's your gut instinct and it can still be right. So that's that's really interesting. And then you've got AIs doing, things like spotting things in X-rays, for example, or coming up
Mm-hmm.
with new protein enzymes and drug combinations and things like that. And I think those are going to be incredibly powerful.
Hmm.
But again, you know, we shouldn't jump ahead of ourselves and say, "Oh yeah, this AI has created this new thing that's going to cure cancer, etc." It's, you can't bypass regulation or anything else like that because you just don't know what the long-term effects are. So we still have regulation wrapped around this AI hype bubble in various forms. It doesn't have to be about the ethics of AI or, it destroys jobs, etc. We still need, these other regulatory controls to protect us from things that it thinks it's creating, or it's, so yeah, it's going to be an interesting time, I think. And we'll see the fallout in 5 to 10 years time. I think still got a fair bit to go before it kind of calms down.
So there's something super funny that I actually talked about, I think, in my previous episode, or I don't remember even if I recorded it on an episode or just talked with a client or something about it. I'm really interested to hear what your take on it is. So, all those, like, lots of VCs, okay, have like this in-house futuristic type positions where basically sometimes it's the VCs themselves, or sometimes it's like someone in their analyst team or research group, whatever you want to call it.
Mm,
And they're basically, like 2 years ago, they were basically AI is coming. And one of the points of VCs was that that VCs were saying was that the beauty of AI is that you're gonna take um you're gonna take a technology that might be a fit for B2B, but you're gonna be able to scale it amongst different kind of sectors. Like a B2B AI product could turn into a B2C AI product, and you could
mm,
basically scale it enormously, right? Like, because the solution will be able to help so many people that that's the potential of AI, where basically you can, like, there is a one size fits all kind of thing. That was like what people were talking about. And
mm,
now, 6 months ago, once you saw this like big competition coming in AI, and lots of AI startups in almost every vertical, and like almost like 70% of them are built on like open AI credits, right? They're built on like GPT instead of like having their own kind of like AI infrastructure. And now VCs are saying something different. They're saying, hey, it's not about AI, it's about vertical AI. right? It's about having specific AI to specific vertical. And I
Mm.
find it quite like, in a sense, funny, because it just shows. I think it's a demonstration of how little does to people know about these technologies and the actual fit. So I want to like connect it to another angle here, is that you mentioned productivity. You mentioned, okay, AI is helping with the day-to-day stuff or the mundane stuff or the tasks that you want to do. Do you actually feel like AI is making the workforce more productive? Like for real? Like people are able to do more things, compared to what they did previously?
I think the jury's out on that at the moment, and the reason
Mm-hmm.
is that we haven't actually seen any hard use cases and the case studies. It's all very anecdotal, and it's obviously anecdotal because someone has a service or an AI product to push. So they say, "Oh yeah, it's increased, blah blah blah," and it's based on one case study or one customer. Um, I haven't come across organizations that have done this on any large scale
Mm-hmm. Me
to
too.
benefit these results, or to claim these results. Um, so the jury's out,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously you get the sensational PR and news articles that say, "Oh, I've replaced my entire customer service team with chatbots." What they don't tell you is after the 6 month trial, they're hiring people back because customers have said this is completely wrong or whatever.
There's no one to talk to.
Yeah, there's no one to talk to, gave me the wrong answers, this kind of thing. Uh, you know, really interesting case in point here. Not just about productivity, but just how badly some of it is done. If you check the Amazon app um, on your iPhone or Android, they have this AI assistant called Rufus now.
Mm.
So instead of chatting to you get through to customer service, and obviously you have menus to say what you're actually want to talk about.
Yeah, I hate
Uh,
them.
yeah,
I hate
uh,
this type of stuff.
yeah. Well, now they have Rufus, and basically you're supposed to say, ask it questions, product, blah blah blah, where's my order, etc., and it'll go and it'll answer. But the thing is that it's not actually trained on Amazon's products or basically what Amazon is, which is a giant retail warehouse. Um, it's a generic chatbot app, so
Mm.
you can ask it anything. And people have been asking it to write Python code, and it's been doing it. I asked it to write a song about black cats, and it did it. And it's like, this is useless because you're supposed to talk to me about products and the stuff that I want to buy. And I ask you
Right.
questions about specs and things like that, or discounts and whatnot, or reviews. But instead, you can write it about anything. You can ask it anything. And I think that's wrong. I think it's very naive. And I think it's just, and it just shows you the mentality of some businesses, even like Amazon. You would think they would get their shit together, but no.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it just shows you that not everybody is thinking about this in the right way. A lot of it is just like slap in AI. We'll call ourselves an AI company. We'll watch the share price blip upwards for a little while, and we'll send out a press release about how innovative we are. And then but nothing. It's had no impact on the business. It's not had an uplift in terms of revenue or profit. Your customer service has probably failed miserably as a result of it. Internally, the business don't know what to do with it because it's just like, well, this is like an extra step. What you've done is you've taken my job that I knew quite well, and I had the flow written, I had the business process kind of sorted out and worked out. And now you've added this thing on top, and I'm supposed to interact with this thing for 5 minutes to tell me what to do when I could have done it in 20 seconds. So
Right.
yeah, so we're not there yet.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. It's funny that like the thing you mentioned about like this 5 minute thing, because it's like we do like a lot of writing in house in our team, and our best writers hate ChatGPT. Why? Because it slows them down. They already
Mm,
have the process, they have the workflow, they have everything, they know where to get the information. And every time they feel like, oh, maybe I can be more productive with ChatGPT, it kind of like backfires on them, while the writers who are, let's call them in training mode, which we were like trying to get them to become one of our better writers, they enjoyed ChatGPT. But the thing is, they they don't understand that in the end of the day, you need like this very accurate quality coming out of
Mm,
your writing that should be engaging. And Theo, if you're gonna start doing ChatGPT for all your LinkedIn posts, your followers are not gonna enjoy
yeah.
that. They're gonna realize that, that like there's, and I'm not saying you can combine both or find like a kind of like a workflow, but it's definitely something to think about. Um, I have two last questions for you today. One of them is, you mentioned books and you mentioned like sci-fi fiction and stuff. What type what type of book, like what book has kind of like impacted you the most, you think, in terms of your personality?
Um, so I have a few favorites. I mean, a lot of it is from the golden age of science fiction. So, Frederick Pohl, um, who wrote Gateway. Gateway is one of my favorite books. There's nothing spectacularly special about it, or wow, that's amazing. It's just a really good story.
Hmm.
And I actually have a hard copy that's signed here.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a great lover in trying to find signed copies of books that I really like. Um, so there's that. There's Matheson's I Am Legend, which is another great story. Um,
Is that the
uh,
Will Smith adaptation, the one that became
yeah,
with
horrible movie. We don't mention that. They want to do a sequel, and I just don't get it because the whole point of the book is it's once and done. There's not supposed to be a sequel about it. Humans aren't
Yeah.
supposed to win. Um, Andy Weir's The Martian, when that first came out before the film itself, it was absolutely amazing to read, and the detail and the way that he explained, the physics and the science behind it was just phenomenal. Um, The Gargoyle, which is a completely off the wall book, Rorschach texts. There's loads of stuff. I just really enjoy reading science fiction and a good story that has a proper human quality to it. Like I
Hmm.
said, it doesn't have to be about hard science and things like that to get your imagination going. As long as there's a really good human hook to it, that's what draws you in.
Hmm. In terms of your like day-to-day productivity routine, what do you do? Like, how do you manage your day? Are you like a to-do list guy, calendar? How do you know
Oh no,
what's important?
no, at the moment I fly by the seat of my pants. So I get
Hmm.
up, I do a bit of, I do the kind of school run kind of sort of stuff. I sit down, I do a bit of research. I write some stuff. If there's an idea that pops into my head that makes a good blog post, for example, I'll write it there and then. And after 20 years of writing, I can knock something out in about 10 minutes. And
Hmm.
I don't really care about spelling or grammar or anything else or punctuation because the idea is to basically get the essence down as quickly as possible before you lose your train of thought. Make a couple of calls, nap. I'm a firm believer in actually having a nap throughout the day because at the end of the day, you're in charge of your own hours and your own productivity. You choose how to work. I've read an interesting article, which is again bashing the work from home culture and
Hmm.
saying, "Oh, people are napping and this is terrible." And it's like, well, yeah, but they're not doing 9 to 5 anymore. They're
Hmm.
literally waking up and doing 8 till 10, going out for a walk, coming back, doing 12 till 3, doing something else, coming back, doing 7 till 10. That's
Hmm.
not normal core working hours, but it still makes you productive and it gets stuff done. So
Right.
who cares if they take a half hour, 45-minute nap in the middle of that?
Right.
We should be judging people by their output and the quality of their output, not by the hours that they do. And I would,
100%.
yeah.
100%. Theo, thank you so much, man, for taking the time. You're an incredible individual. And hopefully, the next startup, kind of takes its next steps, and we'll interview again once it does.
No, thanks for asking, mate. Cheers.
Awesome, Theo. Thank you so much.